Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to see a lot of participants coming to and joining this side event. My name is Hayashi. I'll be a moderator for this side event. I'm very glad to be here with all of you. Today's session is titled HDP Nexus for Effective Mine Action, Strengthening National Capacity from Emergency to Development. We'll be focusing on how countries, especially those affected by conflict, can build their own mine action capacity, not just in emergency, but also in the long-term development and peace-building phases. So over the past few years, JICA, CMAC, and UNMAS have been working closely together to explore how best to support national mine action authorities and mine action centers, particularly in Africa. We have had deep discussion on what capacity building should look like in different phases. And more recently, we've seen concrete collaboration taking shape on the ground. One of the key goals today is to share those insights and discuss them with all of you. So here's how today's session will go. So after the opening remarks, we'll start with a short presentation from JICA, CMAC, and UNMAS. And each speaker will share their organizational approach to capacity building in mine action. Then we'll move on into the panel discussion, where I'll ask a few questions to each participant and to panelists. And then that will be followed by the Q&A session from the floor. And then finally, we'll have the closing remark. So to begin, we are honored to have opening remarks from two ambassadors who have been very supportive of mine action and international cooperation. This year, Japan holds the presidency of Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention, and Zambia will take on the presidency next year. It's quite special to have both current and incoming presidents represented here today. We are truly privileged to hear from both ambassadors at this side event. So first, I'd like to invite Excellency Ichikawa Tomiko, Ambassador of Japan. Yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. And I'd like to thank all the organizers and contributors to this event, and particularly I'd like to thank JICA for taking the lead in organizing this event on a very special and important topic. My special thanks also goes to UNMAS for its support, and I'd like to welcome all the speakers. Of course, I'd like to also thank CMAC and EMAO for their contributions. As many of you already know, as current president of the APNBC, one of Japan's priorities is the strengthening national ownership and capacity building assistance. As I also mentioned in the previous plenary session, Japan believes that strong national ownership by mine-affected states, supported by capacity building assistance, is the key to ensure successful long-term mine action. I just chaired the plenary session on this topic. And as the title of today's side event demonstrates, building and maintaining strong national capacity needs to be factored in throughout various phases of mine action programs, from the emergency response to mid and long-term development. So Japan attaches great importance to cooperation among mine-affected states to strengthen their national ownership and capacity through sharing experiences and best practices. We are very happy with our long-term cooperation with Cambodia in building its own well-established national capacity, and more recently, in actively engaging in international cooperation. I'm also very happy that my opening remarks will be followed by Ambassador Eunice, my good friend. One of the reasons, as already mentioned, is that Zambia will succeed Japan as the president of the APMBC. Another reason, more directly linked to this event, is that Japan and Zambia have been cooperating on how to tailor national capacity building program to better suit African countries' specific needs. You will hear about these efforts in this event. So I'm personally looking forward to today's discussions, and I hope that you will find this event useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Excellency Ichikawa. Next, we welcome Excellency Eunice Mem Tembo Luambier, Ambassador of Japan. Sorry, Ambassador of Zambia. Sorry, I missed that.
Thank you, Ambassador Ichikawa, for your remarks, and just to thank you for your leadership since you took over the presidency, and we look forward to continue to cooperate with you until we take over. On behalf of the Government of the Republic of Zambia, I'm honored to address this important gathering focused on enhancing national mine action capacities. It is a privilege to share our perspective on the critical issue of mine action and capacity building within the Humanitarian-Development-Peace Nexus. Zambia recognizes the profound impact that landmines and explosive remnants of war have on our communities, hindering development and threatening the safety and well-being of our people. As a nation committed to peace and development, Zambia has made significant strides in its mine action efforts, thanks to the support of international partners and the dedication of our institutions. As a former Mine Action Director, I want to emphasize that transitioning from emergency response to sustainable national ownership requires a multifaceted approach. In recent years, Zambia has made significant strides in its mine action initiatives, supported by international partners such as JICA and dedicated national institutions. Transitioning from emergency response to sustainable national ownership requires a comprehensive and inclusive approach. The process involves not only the removal of landmines and clearing affected areas in the short term, but also the development of robust national capacities to sustain mine action programs in the long term. Zambia firmly believes in the importance of capacity building and training. Strengthening the skills and expertise of our national mine action staff through comprehensive training programs is essential. Capacity building in mine action is vital for empowering nations to confront the complex challenges posed by landmines and explosive remnants of war. It fosters national ownership and ensures sustainable progress, leading to a lasting impact. By developing the necessary skills, knowledge, and infrastructure, affected countries can take the lead in identifying priorities, mobilizing resources, and implementing tailor-made solutions, tailored solutions being the operative phrase. We believe there are three key reasons for capacity building. Firstly, enhancing technical expertise. Capacity building allows nations to improve their technical skills in mine detection, clearance, and disposal. With advanced training and access to modern technology, national teams can efficiently and safely remove landmines, reducing casualties and reclaiming contaminated land for productive use. Secondly, strengthening coordination and management. Effective mine action requires strong coordination and management. Capacity building initiatives help establish robust frameworks for planning, monitoring, and evaluating mine action programs. This ensures optimal resource use and alignment with national priorities and international standards. Lastly, promoting local ownership. National ownership is the cornerstone of sustainable mine action. Capacity building empowers local communities to take charge of mine action activities, fostering a sense of responsibility and accountability. This local ownership leads to more culturally appropriate and context-specific solutions, enhancing the effectiveness of mine action efforts. I eagerly anticipate our discussions today, and I'm confident that the outcomes of our work will provide valuable insights into others engaged in mine action. Together, we can enhance our collaborative efforts for greater effectiveness in the future. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your really powerful words, and we are really encouraged by both the ambassadors' opening remarks. We would like to move to the first part of the program. So we are going to have 3 presentations. Today we are joined by the 4 panelists, and each bringing the deep experience and the unique perspective on mine action. So let me briefly introduce them, but probably they can add more their own self-introduction. First, from the side, the left-hand side, Ms. Eri Komukai, Senior Advisor at JICA. She has been involved in the mine action for over 20 years. She has extensive experience. Next, Mr. Om Pumuro, Deputy Director General of CMAC. He has also over 2 decades of experience and deep knowledge of CMAC's development. He has been together with the CMAC for over two decades. And then the third one, Mr. Edwin Feigman, currently serving as the Chief of UNMAS Nigeria. He has worked in mine action not only in Nigeria, but also in Laos and Cambodia in the Southeast Asia. And finally, Mr. Tadesse Amelo, Director of EMAO. He has long served as the head of EMAO, and then bring insights into evolution of national authority and operators as a EMAO head. So let's begin with a presentation from JICA. Each speaker has 5 minutes presentation. So Komukai-san, you have the floor.
Thank you, Hayashi-san. My name is Eri Komukai. I have been working in the mine action sector for more than 20 years. And then, in fact, JICA has been supporting enhancing national capacity of the mine action sector since late 1990s. And then we have been very much, convinced the approach of enhancing national capacity, because when we started working for CMAC, late 1990s, the relationship was donor-recipient relations. We have provided equipment, and we also provided some technical assistance and so on. And then, but since 2010, CMAC became very important partner to JICA. We have been working together to provide and share knowledge to other landmine and UXO contaminated countries, starting with Colombia, Laos, Angola, Iraq, and now Ukraine. And then today we are going to talk about African countries. So today, with limited time, I'm not going to talk about JICA's portfolio to enhance national capacity for those countries, but rather I'd like to briefly introduce this initiative, what we have been doing, we have done, and what we are doing now under collaboration together with CMAC and UNMAS. In fact, this initiative to enhance national capacity for affected countries was born here in Geneva in 2022, 3 years ago. There was nothing that time, no idea, no specific idea, but we said together with CMAC and UNMAS, we should do something. And after 1 year in October, we gathered again in Nairobi. So our focus was this time for African countries. We gathered representatives of governmental organizations. Some of them are authority, some of them are national operators from Ethiopia, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan, and the respective offices of from UNMAS and the CMAC from Cambodia and the JICA from headquarters. There was very strong request by 4 countries that they really want to see the operation and the capacity of Cambodia. So we gathered again January 2024 in Cambodia, and then CMAC organized a kind of tour for 4 countries to show their own activities and their functions in the headquarters. And then July 24, we gathered in Addis Ababa, and then to concretize what would be the necessary to enhance national capacity, which will be, I think, will be touched upon later. And then I think many of you here also attended 5th Review Conference in Siem Reap in Cambodia last year. And then we held side event in that occasion, and then we affirmed importance of assisting to establish strong national capacity. So that was side event, but after that we had a technical kind of workshop in Zambia. So from this February, Zambia joined this initiative because we thought it would be very much important to have Zambia together to share what we have been discussing with the next presidency. And then Zambia is a good example of graduated country. And then we kind of drafted some roadmap of national capacity, which I'm going to show briefly. Before drafting roadmap, we try to categorize the functions of national organization. Cambodia is line A. As some of you may know, there is authority called CMAA, and the CMAC, a long-term friend partner as national operator, which has, I think, biggest task and achievement among other operators. And then Somalia, South Sudan, and Zambia, the organization which we are working with, rather authority types of organization. And the Ethiopia and the Nigeria, they are authority, but they are willing to have some small capacity of the operation. But I think this can be changeable, I mean, according to the context. Before we analyze national capacity of African countries, we kind of learned how CMAC has been developed. I think this part will be explained later by DDZ Pomlo. But in basic capacity, CMAC has grown in 3 years from 1992 to 95. This is still in conflict situation, by the way. Although Paris Peace Accord was signed in 1991, but still partial conflict was going on until 1998. So after 95, CMAC moved to a developing phase of national capacity, and then from 2010, as I said, CMAC started sharing their knowledge and the experiences to other countries, so it's advanced phase. And then now they are moving towards taking off phase. Comparing to this phase of CMAC's roadmap, we tried to analyze with 5 countries, Somalia, Ethiopia, Zambia, South Sudan, and Nigeria. And we found out, apart from Zambia, 4 countries are still in the phase of basic one. And then we try to analyze what should be the basic capacity. And then many of them are still trying to equip to provide the capacity to mine awareness and the emergency response. And then maybe gradually they will be able to implement some survey and information management and clearance and the QA/QC. Of course, all of you know that those 4 sets are very much important. Nobody should wait until level 1 finishes. But many countries, at least these 4 countries, do have a problem of the acquiring resources, so they cannot do everything at a go. So we try to spend the time, what would be the minimal one? What would be the minimal one to reduce casualties? So this is not JICA's suggestion. This is kind of the result of the workshop that first, they want to have a capacity for the mine awareness or risk education and emergency response at least. We also discussed that operation capacity should be backed up by the administrative kind of capacity, because that's how JICA has been supporting for CMAC. It's not only the supporting for operation at the ground, but function at the headquarters or administrative element is very much important for national capacity. So starting with policy formulation and management and coordination, supervision, and then they should have more, more elements to be strengthened. Again, all sets are very much necessary, but just looking at real situation, they cannot enhance everything at a go. So we just discussed, and then this is kind of, proposal from 5 countries plus CMAC, where their own countries and then donors can pay attention. So I stop here, and then I think there are a lot of, fruits to thought, and I'm really looking forward to having a comments and questions to my presentation later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Komukai-san, for your overview and also sharing the bit of the detailed information that we have discussed so far. So next, I'd like to invite the Mr. Pumuro, Deputy Director of General from CMAC. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. Good to see many friends here. Thank you very much for organizing this side event and inviting CMAC to share our perspective on national capacity development. JICA and CMAC has been working together for many years to bring CMAC's experience and capacity to countries in need. Lately, we have been working in cooperation with JICA and UNMAS to identify areas where CMAC can contribute to the strengthening of national capacity of mine action centers and mine action authorities in Ethiopia, Nigeria, Somalia, and South Sudan. We've done several side events to this end, and we hope that we will have concrete steps toward achieving our objective. So let me share CMAC's experience, practical experience, and perspective on how we build capacity and how CMAC can contribute to capacity development of some other countries. Cambodia is located in Southeast Asia. We are a country with a population of 17 million, and Cambodia has probably suffered some of the most, the heaviest wars and conflicts in the region and in the world. Currently, we have millions of landmines and ERW scattered around the country. We've been operating for over 30 years to address the problem, but as you may know, we are going to request for an extension to clear all AP landmine by 2030. So this is a brief background of Cambodia. CMAC, we were established in 1992, and from 1992 up to the end of 2024, we have already cleared and released 1,950 kilometers of contaminated land, square kilometers of contaminated land. We have destroyed over 3 million items of landmines and use over the past 32, 33 years. We have a strong capacity of around 1,800 people, about 70 of whom are field staff. We have a fleet of machines, docks, and we have some of the programs like EORE, employing over 10,000 volunteers across the country, and victim assistance support to the people and some more. Looking at how CMAC built up our own capacity, like Komkai-san already mentioned, we have gone through different phases of capacity development, starting from 1992 to 1995, with very basic capacity, basic team responding to resuscitation, EOD, during the emergency phase. From 1996 to 2009, we spent many years to develop our own capacity with the support from JICA, from UNEP, and from other partners like NPA, the United States. During this period of time, we expanded our technical capacity to include new methodologies, new technologies, mine detection docks, machines. So during this period of time, we really developed our capacity to a very high level. From 2010 to 2025, we have achieved kind of advanced capacity where we can share our capacity with other countries. And from next year to 2035, we have a new strategy, 10-year strategy. We want to expand our capacity to include further technologies and share this capacity with many other countries. So what is it when we're talking about national capacity development? Based on our experience and our perspective, we have a very simple definition of national capacity. That means you have sustainable resources to meet your national needs. There are, for us, we can see at least six key elements involved when we're talking about national capacity. First, you have to have a very strong ownership and leadership. This is a very important element to build up your national capacity. Second, you have to have a strong institutional capacity, including legal institutional frameworks, structure, functions, and you have to have strategy to implement all these functions and roles. Third one, you have to have the strong operational capacity, including technical capacity like clearance, land release, survey, other technologies. Fourth, you have to have training capacity in order to sustain your capacity in the long run. Next, you have to have resources. You have to have personnel, financing, equipment, facilities, and last one, you have to be productive and efficient. So you have to have effective work plans, targets, outputs, cost and output control. So these are the key elements of what we see important that will contribute to building up your national capacity. In Cambodia, in the case of Cambodia, we're lucky that we've had a very favorable environment or conditions to build up national capacity. We can see at least 4 factors that contributed to the capacity development of Cambodia. First, we have a very strong leadership by the government to support mine action. The Prime Minister himself leads mine action. He's the chairman of CMAC Governing Council. He's the president of CMAA, and he talks with donors. So he leads the mine action himself. And second, at the policy level, we have very strong legal and strategic frameworks to support mine actions. And the third one, this is very important, we have a very strong partnership. We have strong support from donors and partners to support mine action and to support capacity development. And the fourth one, at the implementation level, we have very strong coordination amongst key stakeholders from the national level to the local levels. So these 4 factors really have contributed to the national development of Cambodia's capacity. So far, we have shared our experience with the capacity that we have built We have shared our experience with several countries, including Angola, Colombia, Ethiopia, Iraq, Laos, Myanmar, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan, Ukraine, and we will continue to do so in the long run. Sorry, which way? This way. So what can we share? We have 3 levels of exchange, from the senior and middle management to backside office management and skills in the field. That means we can share our experience in terms of organizational management, planning, prioritization, information management, HR management, down to real technical aspects like survey, EUD, mechanical clearance, EORE, etc. So these are the areas where we can share with our partner organization through peer-to-peer kind of learning process. Of course, we understand the differences of different organizations in different countries. So by identifying area for exchange, we have to conduct very serious discussion, evaluation, assessment, in order to find out what areas are needed for each organization, because we understand that each organization has different characteristics, differences in terms of how they work, how they manage. So we take this into account to produce tailored programs for each country with which we share our experience. And in conclusion, I can say that to build up the national capacity, especially in the Cambodian case, it is very rooted to the national ownership and international support. These 2 factors really contributed to how Cambodia and how CMAC have built our capacity. We have very strong national ownership, but at the same time, we have very strong support from our donors and partners. And we will be ready to use our capacity and experience to continue to share with other countries, including our friends from the African continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Pumuro, and sorry for putting your 20 years CMAX effort into 5 minutes, but I think you did a successful presentation. Thank you very much. So the next one is Edwin. Thank you very much. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Good morning. My name is Edwin Figmani, and I represent UNMAS in Nigeria as the Chief of the Mine Action Program. Thank you for inviting UNMAS to share its perspective on emergency mine action and transitioning to national ownership based on the experience in Nigeria. For those who are unfamiliar with the context, in northeast Nigeria, which you will see on the map, 16 years of fighting against Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other non-state armed groups has entered its 16 years. Since the fighting began, over 2 million people have been displaced and have sought refuge in IDP camps across the states. Fighting has led to contamination, including mines of an improvised nature, unexploded ordnance. And these are examples of what we find in the field. Oops. Okay, that went too fast. As you can imagine, the fighting has left unexploded ordnance and explosive contamination across the states. In 2024, UNMAS recorded 418 casualties, civilian casualties, in the 3 states alone. This is the highest number that we had recorded since 2018. These 400 civilian casualties, represent a 62% increase in the number of civilian casualties as compared to 2023. So this is a big jump. We are also recording much more IED incidents with non-state actors using IEDs as their weapons of choice. Okay, so the emergency and humanitarian context. In 2018, UNMAS deployed to Nigeria at the request of the UN Resident Coordinator. So we worked to save lives and protect civilians. This was mainly done through the coordination of the Mine Action Area of Responsibility, the collection and analysis of information, and our operational activities in 2018 started off in delivering risk education. However, the context is changing. In 2023, the government started its move to end this protracted displacement by adapting durable solutions for internal displacement. This strategy will see that the decongestion of IDP camps, the closing of IDP camps, the establishment of pathways of IDP returns, and the decrease in the reliance of humanitarian aid. The move to close the camps will see the movement of IDPs back to their areas of return or resettlement. However, UNMAS data shows that 12 of the 15 local government areas of IDP return are where 87% of all of these explosive incidents have happened. So essentially, IDPs are returning to areas that are not safe. So it will make it unsafe for them to move around when they return to their farms, and then they start rebuilding their lives and livelihoods. So mine action is needed more than ever. In 2024, the government of Nigeria took much more steps to establish the National Mine Action Center and appointed the first National Mine Action Center coordinator, Barrister Khalifa Lawan, who is here with us today. So NMAC, the National Mine Action Center, is still at its very embryonic stage. It's still trying to grow, and it is requesting for support in terms of technical advice and financial resources. So the transition. This is where the JICA, UNMAS, CMAC South-South Cooperation Framework comes in to support the developing and the evolving context of mine action in Nigeria. So as you would have seen already, JICA, CMAC provides the formal training through the workshops, field visits, and then UNMAS in country provides the mentoring and technical advice that is needed to make sure that NMAC has the capacity to use these lessons that they have learned during the training. So next steps towards development in 2025. Starting this July, we're going to start training the first 2 humanitarian demining teams under the National Mine Action Center. So these teams will do response, IED response, EOD response, and surveying clearance. The teams are composed of Nigerian police and Nigerian civil defense officers seconded to the NMAC, and this initiative is funded by the government of Japan. So thank you very much. For durable solutions and development activities to take place, mine action needs to happen. We all know that. For displaced people to return to their homes and rebuild their lives and livelihoods, mine action also needs to happen. So we are at this humanitarian and development crossroads. And I would say that there are ways that we can start working together. We've been lobbying for support, not only in terms of funding and equipment, but also for technical advice. JICA is here. There are other development and humanitarian actors that are here, and all of us can come together to provide technical advice to what Nigeria needs. Nigeria just submitted its request under Article 5 of the Mine Ban Convention, and it will be considered this year. And of course, this is also another opportunity for member states to come together and then support Nigeria. UNMAS would like to thank its donors and partners in 2024, as you would see. And I would like to thank this opportunity with this lucky cat to attract more resources for mine action in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edwin, for your presentation. Yeah, I really like this cat, the lucky cat. Okay, so now I like to move on to the panel discussion. And actually, I prepared 3 questions, but since time is limited, I would like to have the only 2 questions. And then first question is a common question for all the panelists. And then the second one will be the specific question to individuals. So the first question is that, let me integrate into one question. So what is the most essential element for building national capacity in mine action? And if you have any challenges, challenging issues when you are working on the ground or you are working in the office, what is the most challenging issues from the emergency to development phase when you are transitioning So I would like to hear the comments from the four panelists. So Komukai-san, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hayashi-san. I think previous speakers have already stated, but from donors' point of view, national ownership is, I think, most important thing, and it's very easy to say, but what it means. I want the national government to acquire minimum resources. This is financial resources and human resources. Most of in conflict countries or post-conflict countries have a lot of agendas to respond. Infrastructure, repatriation and return of IDP refugees, health, education, everything. But if the national government doesn't set my action into the priority, it's very hard for donor countries to work with. So I just encourage, if any landmine and UXO contaminated countries want any support from bilateral international organization, I encourage the My Action national organization to get minimum resources and minimum financial resources, human resources, and then to get national commitment from your own government. Unless otherwise, it's very difficult. And as I said, challenges are, I mean, the My Action sector need to fight with other, wider sectors, agriculture, health, education. But from my point of view, of course, all sectors are very much important, but My Action can be precondition to promote those social and economic sectors. So I really want national government to put priority for My Action sectors. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't think my response will be very much different from what has been said by Komukai-san. And also in my presentation, I put 6 key elements of capacity development, one of which is ownership and leadership. So this is still what I believe to be the most critical element of national capacity development. You need a very strong leadership to guide, and especially the political commitment by the top leaders of the country. The government involvement in mine action, very important to show the donors that the government wants to support mine action, and this is our problem. We want to solve the problem in the long term. And especially the issue of ownership is critical, because without owning the problem, you cannot ask other people to help you till the end till you reach zero solution. Zero problem. So this is what I believe to be important. And during the panel, during the preliminary discussion today, we talk about a lot about localization. That's important for any national organization to build up their own capacity. You have to own it, and you have to localize it in order to make it sustainable. And in terms of challenges, I think you need to build up enough capacities, appropriate capacities to respond to all requirements. And that's very challenging, because like Komukai-san mentioned, resources are limited. You have to fight for resources, but you have to be competitive. If you cannot show that you are capable, you cannot mobilize resources to support your program. So it's chicken and egg. Without building capacity, you cannot mobilize resources. Yeah, and you have to mobilize enough resources to build capacities. So you have to do both at the same time, and that's very critical.
Okay, thank you very much. But you don't give us a hint for how to break the chicken and egg? That's a secret. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I echo Komukai-san's and Pumuro-san's comments on the government ownership. I mean, in the context of Nigeria, you've got a humanitarian and development crossroads, right? Much more humanitarian right now, but going towards development. And I think it's the competition for resources, right? You have other sectors, nutrition, health, agriculture. All of these are competing for mine action, or for resources and mine action needs to be recognized by the government. And for it to be recognized, it must be mentioned in all of their plans, strategies. And this is something that I've been pushing the national director who is with me right today. What does the government show? What can the government commit? And by showing this commitment, it will sort of encourage, and this is based on experience from Cambodia, right? This is where government ownership will lead to much more resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tadesse.
Thank you. The question same even will maybe repeat it some points on that according to the countries wise. In my opinion here, especially for those the national capacity are limited, the countries are very the key that capacitate the countries wise and the ownership as well. The ownership for the sector is very key, and as we see in different observations that we get experiences from different countries, from Cambodia and from other countries, that we saw there is really the key, well, the commitment of the government, the support, the sector. Unless, otherwise, the donors may add some values on the countries-wide support. So the countries or the government should commit to create, to support this sector. And the challenge in terms of this exactly is the limitation of the capacity, especially in the African countries. Why I'm saying the African, most of the time seems like a dependent. So we need now the basement support, that very clear support from the international communities, from the donors to establish and to build the capacity and may capacitate the ownership of the countries. For this, really appreciate that the program, which we are looking now with JICA CMAC supports, that focusing on the capacity building mainly, that the best opportunity for those who are looking to manage it, the ownership of the capacity. So this integratedly will improve our capacity, because as in terms of Ethiopia, we have some basements, some accesses to develop those issues. According to expertise and even training centers that we are looking to use for all the East of Africa as an excellence. If we get some supports to build, we can reestablish and reorganize our training center for even for the African countries. Other example in Ethiopia is, as most of you, I think, know that we have strong training centers on the peacekeeping issue. We are serving on that for most African countries and others. So it seems like that this mine action sector also is looking, if we facilitate the sector, will serve all the regional countries as well. So there are, of course, essential elements need here funding, and the challenge also, as I mentioned, is wide. So any supporters who are looking to support the countries in Africa, we are looking to support with the JICA, CMAC, and other countries, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tadese, your the comment on the questions. We are a bit running out of time, so just individual question, I want to ask the CMAC, Mr. Pumuro, and then the Tadese from EMAO only. So to Mr. Pumuro, so when sharing the CMAC's experience with the country, with other countries, what do you see your strengths? What is the unique characteristic of CMAC? What can you differentiate yourself from other countries when you are supporting the other countries? That's question to you. And then Mr. Tadese, so MO is evolving as a kind of hybrid model. You are going to be operator, also the authorities. And then probably you want to build your own capacity, but also probably you need some space to receive the external support, including international organizations or NGOs operating on the field. So how are you going to make balance? What's your ideas? What is the best balance between your own and the capacity, also the international NGOs working on the field? So that's a question to you. So Mr. Pumuro, can you go first?
Thank you for the questions, and I would like to share a few aspects of CMAC in terms of our strength when sharing our experience with other countries. First of all, we have a long history of operations, management, transition from, we were engaged in emergency phase and development phase. So we went through all these years of experiments, ups and downs, problems, successes. So we have learned all this throughout our years of operation, of existence. The long history that we've had. One case of example that we can share, CMAC was formed out of former enemies. We were formed with the CMAC was staffed. The early CMAC was staffed with demobilized soldiers from 4 different fighting groups. So they were put together, worked together, and it took years for them to build trust. That's a process of peace building that we can share also as part of our existence, our long history. So that is first aspect of our strength. The second is that, of course, we have built many things. We've had so many technical advisors, technical support, but at the same time, we have built many things from the ground as localized kind of experience and knowledge. The tacit knowledge that we gain is based on the local conditions, based on local lessons. We have failed, we have recovered, we have learned, we have succeeded. So all these come into the tacit knowledge that we have, and it's kind of difficult to copy, to be frank. The way we do in CMAC and the way some countries can do. Of course, I'm not saying that we are the best, but we have learned something that we can share. The third aspect is that we are experienced in many things. Because Cambodia, we have so many problems, not just landmines, not just UXO, but we have landmines problem, we have UXO problems, we have underwater problems, we have chemical issues, we have cluster munitions, we have aerial bombs. So we have all these problems at the same time, and we have developed our capacity to respond to all these issues at the same time. So this is another aspect. And one more, I want to emphasize how CMAC staff have sacrificed their life for so many years working in CMAC to support the mine action. This is also very something that we can share, how people can sacrifice their personal life, their families, to work in mine action for 20, 30 years. A lot of people joined in 1992, 93, like I said, we built CMAC from demobilized soldiers from different groups, and they've stayed with CMAC for 20, 30 years, and this is the sacrifice that they've made. And this is something that we can also share in terms of the commitment of the people, the commitment of the staff that we have, that this is something as a good point also So I think that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumro. Okay, Mr.
Thank you again. And yes, that the organizational structure it depends on the countries that use. And yes, as you mentioned, that we are using the hybrid type issues, the classification. I mean, hybrid, we are managing the authority parts and operator parts also. Because we do not have had such kind of supporters and before, the issue should be managed. Because of that, what we use, what we have on hand. I mean, for example, we are working before only as EMAO. This year, we accredited more about 6 NGOs to support the sector. Mean that we separate the responsibilities. Of course, EMAO is looking overview of the organizations as international organizations and operational part also. But that operational part is very limited. It's very specific areas that is not somehow converted for these INGOs, specifically indicating that the border and some insecurity issues is there. So that should be managed by the country's operators. Here, we have some limit capacity. We use this separately and on the place that is useful. So this show us that the balancing lies of the leveraging that external support to internal support. That mean that transferring or sharing the experiences accordingly, and at the end, gradually we minimize the operational part totally to pull out the sector and will release for the INGOs mostly. Because of that, we are using the hybrid part, and it's important for the sector that we use because of the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your vision in the future about the Ethiopian mine action sector. So now I'd like to open the floor. Probably I can take the 2-3 questions, or if you have any comments and something that you want to share. Yes, 1, 2, 3. Okay, from 1 to 3, yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Mariam Hassan Gambo from Child Protection and Men Empowerment Initiative, a national NGO, women-led NGO from Northeast Nigeria. So thank you very much for the presentation. So in our context, the Humanitarian-Development Nexus is not just a theory, but it is in our everyday work. We respond, we rebuild, and we support recovery at once, often with limited resources. As a local and women-led organization, we build capacity to mobilize resources, but we also need resources to build capacity. Just as Mr. Fumro mentioned, it is the chicken-egg cycle, and this cycle cannot be ignored. So we are closest to the communities, and we carry the knowledge, the trust, and the commitment to stay long after others leave. But without long-term flexible support and true inclusion of women in leadership, we are being asked to do more with less. So I ask, how are you planning to invest in the kind of capacity that allows local actors, especially women, not just to deliver, but to lead? Because when women lead, recovery is deeper, more inclusive, and more lasting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So your question is specifically to somebody in the panelist, or? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, the second one, you, I guess.
Hi, my name's Louise Wilson from Mine Action Review, and we produce the Clearing the Mines and Clearing Cluster Munition Remnants reports on an annual basis. I was very interested to hear about the capacity building analysis that JICA does. It sounds very useful and instructive, and I wondered, because it does sound like it would be very useful for anyone who's interested in what is going on at a country level in terms of capacity building and needs and so on. Are there any fact sheets or reports or anything where we can see more detailed information on a country basis? And then my second question, if I may, related to that, is for Mr. Tadesse. I wondered if you could say a little more about the experience of Ethiopia of taking part in that capacity analysis and how it helped them, how it was instructive as they embarked on this restructuring and redevelopment of their mine action program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the third one.
Hi, thank you. It's Abel Tasfai from the United Nations Mine Action Service in Ethiopia. I could go to anyone, but this is more of reflection rather than a question. So in the whole of this managing expectation, particularly the community who are affected, is essential because the work which we do is to so in this approach, coordination, transitioning from emergency to development takes time. In different level, the coordination is the most essential, be it like interministerial governmental coordination with various clusters which you mentioned, or service providers. So from this perspective, how do you see the role of coordination or effective coordination in making this become a very inspiring initiative to become successful? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. So I'd like to go back to the panelists and then respond to the answers. And if you, we are going to close soon, so if you have any additional comments, that's very welcome. Please do so at this time opportunity. So, Komukai-san.
Thank you very much for comment from Mine Action Review. And in fact, I quite frequently visit to your website because you have a lot of informative information country-wise. So what I showed to you today is the draft, and then we want to use this as a kind of template for African countries. The motivation was, even for African countries themselves, they want many, needs. They have many needs and they want a lot of resources from donors. But from donors' point of view, we want them to prioritize, where are you, which point are you, and then what will be coming next. So we wanted to make some kind of template for African countries because most of countries we were working with have quite limited kind of capacity. So, but this is just template roadmap. But as you suggested, we of course need country-specific kind of analysis, which will be done maybe when we support like Ethiopia or Nigeria. We for sure need such a kind of capacity assessment, and then for that. Always, we also come to your homepage, and then we have kind of individual interview with them. So I don't know if I answered to your question. And then one more announcement is this coming August we are going to Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan is going to hold TICAT. This is a Tokyo International Development Conference for Africa. And then we are planning to have some kind of event for mine action sector. For that, we want to have a bit more formalized version of this roadmap. Yeah. And then for the question, comment for the woman leader, I totally agree with you that especially for mine risk education or risk management, I think women plays a lot of quite important role. And then for this year, for CMAC, we are going to provide some gender mainstreaming training to CMAC. CMAC has very much developed with technically, but gender mainstreaming we consider you need to promote. So we are promoting this kind of thing, and then we have no specific training for those African countries. But I agree with you; it's very important perspective. Yeah. Yes, please.
I have no specific answers to your question, but I just want to share something because your question can be very contextual. But we are aware that there's a platform to promote women in probably not just mine action, but security area in general. We call it women, peace, and security. I think this has been promoted by many countries, by many organizations. So I only suggest that I think you can talk to probably UNDP, or because they are the ones promoting this, or talk to embassies, or maybe NPA. They are very good in women kind of promotion. So access this women, peace, and security kind of platform. I think you can find out more information to promote long-lasting participation by women. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again to Tadesse?
It may not be so relevant, I think, if the detailed capacity analysis hasn't been undertaken yet. Is that my understanding? So my question was, how has the process of the capacity analysis, what's the experience been like of that, and how has it been instructive for EMAO as they embark on restructuring the program? But perhaps that work has not yet been undertaken. So.
Yeah. So, 今回さん何か言います？大丈夫です。Yeah, okay. What we discussed is that the type of capacity that all the organization has to go through, and we haven't really done any assessment with EMAO yet. So that's a current situation. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So, Tadesse, you want to add some comment? Yeah.
The capacity issue. We are practicing now actually from different international organizations to get supports. Even those are accredited, they start the supports on the capacity, but it needs at the gap wideness, it needs more and more. And we are working even with the embassies to capacitate, especially on the knowledge, the training issue. Of course, when we talk about capacity, it's not mean that the only knowledge, all capacities, equipment supports, yeah, facilities for the sector. So we are using that supports capacity depending on the supporters' interest. I mean, there are so many gaps on the sector, but more of we are focusing on the national capacity building issue, that the ownership of the country. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your response to the questions. So, as we come to the end of this session, so we are a bit running behind the time. I'd like to say thank you to all the speakers and panelists. To close, I'd like to invite Ms. Eileen Kohn, Director of UNMAS, to share your reflection or your comment, your speech, you may, whatever. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Let me especially thank the ambassadors of Japan and Zambia. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to see these strong leadership of the treaty process this year, next year, and of course, previously and beyond your presidencies. I also want to thank my partners from JICA and CMAC and EMAO. It's a really great experience to be working together on this core tenet of our sector, which is national capacity building, national ownership. I don't want to repeat all of the different and really significant steps that JICA and Japan have facilitated and enabled UNMAS to do together with the colleagues from Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Somalia. I want to go in closing to this really provocative aspect of the partnership that keeps coming up in your questions and in these remarks, which is specifically, what can we really take away from this important Cambodia experience for the benefit of colleagues who are at a much earlier stage? And where do the rest of us see intervention points where we can actually engage to help national leaders move forward? And it always strikes me, you know, the CMAC colleague did a great job. I love the slide with the 6 key ingredients, right? So here's a roadmap and here are signs. But we have to add, I think, to that roadmap the element of time. I mean, we heard from the very beginning of his presentation that we're talking about a 4-decade-long experience here, right? And we're talking about an experience that started when the war ended. Whereas the colleagues that we're working with, and many of the colleagues that are deliberating how to move forward at this meeting and at home, are still in conflict, or only very recently post-conflict, and perhaps still in very volatile regions where they can't anticipate that they're going to have a Cambodia-like experience that started back in 92 and 94. So I think one thing the Cambodia experience really offers us is a reality kind of expectation management, you know, framework. Also, the CMAC colleague talked about not only that the conflict had ended and it took so much time to get where we are, but the way Cambodia reconciled may be quite different from the way other countries' reconciliation processes and social processes look in the aftermath of conflict. So I think all of these contextual situations, I think, are very important for managing expectations. And sadly, we're at a moment where the finances in the sector are so depleted and so stretched that the other essential ingredient that Cambodia had, or at least one of many, is a very committed both political support at home and a national budget at home, and this committed support from Japan that has stuck with them for all these decades. And that is really a magic ingredient that you can't just, you know, wish and get. So I think what we then need to look for are, you know, how to intervene in support of what these colleagues in a much more early stage and difficult settings are trying to achieve. Now, the structure of the Cambodia Authority is also really interesting, right? Because they have a structure where the CMAC and the CMA and Victim Assistance Authority are reporting directly to a prime minister through an interministerial committee. This allows them to be very interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, right? They're able to really work on victim assistance. They access the health ministry, they access education, they access, you know, social affairs. That is much more challenging if you are a national authority in a Ministry of Defense. A Ministry of Defense doesn't naturally talk to the public health sector, the education, the social affairs, the Ministry of Planning, right? So it's very, the structure right from the get-go. So if you're a country in a formative stage of developing your National Mine Action Authority, you really need to be taking this Cambodia example and thinking about it with your legislatures, with the parliamentarians. And there I see an intervention point for those of us who are you know, the interested external stakeholders that may have representation in some of these countries that are working towards establishing their authorities. Use your political advocacy to be working at the parliamentary level and at the prime ministerial level and the presidential level to be advocating for a structure that's going to set things in place for future success. Similarly, just passing the legislation to set up the national authority can sometimes take years and years. I mean, I was just speaking with Barrister Khalifa from Nigeria about exactly that. He's been trying to establish his authority at the national legislative level for years now. So if you're a donor country or an interested country and you have a political representation in Nigeria, you want to be using that kind of advocacy to advocate for passage of that legislation, because otherwise you won't have one of the other essential ingredients that CMAC mentioned, which is the national budget. You're not going to get money from your national budget if you don't exist as a national entity. So I just would close by saying these countries that are working hard to achieve their treaty objectives, and all the countries we're talking about are actively engaged in meeting their treaty objectives. So they've set goals for themselves before they've even necessarily completed the conflict and gotten themselves to a starting point, but nevertheless working very hard. So let's use our donor capabilities, even in these really difficult times, to sustain our support. Let's use political advocacy with your diplomatic representations in these affected countries so that they get the structures in place, some national budget contribution in place. And then from the UN side, and the last thing I'll say is, I think it's very important, and I think the CMAC colleague also mentioned, that the sectors that we enable, agriculture, safe mobility, education, health, we want them to be building mine action into their assessments and into their plans and into their budgets, because not only it makes sense, because otherwise the contamination will obstruct the achievement of their own objectives, but also it will access different sources of funding, right? Because if the donors to the agriculture sector build in the need to remove the contamination from the fields, we're accessing a different sort of pool of funding. So that's something that on the UN side we'll be advocating for very aggressively with our UN partners from those so-called enabled sectors. So let me just close by thanking the colleagues in the national mine action authorities that are working so hard to get to where Cambodia is, and thank you, Cambodia, for the example, and thank you, Ari, for the work that we do together in partnership with JICA, and thank you, Ambassador Ichikawa, Japan, for being such a long-standing partner, and best wishes to Zambia as you look to the horizon when you'll take over the presidency. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your reflection, Ms. Eileen Kohn. So we are going to close this side event. Thank you very much for your participation. We are still in the middle way of this discussion and the initiative. We will continue working on this initiative, and then we will develop further, I don't know, kind of well, the models or the initiative. So. Well, please stay with us, and then we are very happy to update on our new coming initiative, and then to share with you more in the coming conferences, especially under the Japanese presidency. So thank you very much for your participation today, and then I'm really looking forward to working with you, and then please enjoy the rest of the NDM. Thank you very much.